Hello, and welcome to another Carbon 60 video by me, K. Elmer. And today's video is a little different because I'd like to share with you my take on what are the health benefits of C60 and where you can buy C60 and how much you should take. And before we do that, of course, let's jump right into the disclosures. This material is for research purposes only. C60 oil is not approved for consumption by the FDA. This is not medical or health advice. This is not a product endorsement. I do not sell any C60 products, and I don't get paid in any way to do videos. This is purely me sharing my research that I do on C60. So let's jump right into the material. First things first, before we can talk about what the health benefits are, it's important to understand just the very, very basics of how C60 works as a health supplement. So the number one thing is a C60 molecule, a carbon 60 molecule comprised of 60 carbon atoms in a little soccer ball shape, is a super antioxidant. That means it has an extra electron that it can donate to anything in your body that's called a free radical that is short one electron. So you've got essentially antioxidants are electron donors and free radicals are electron stealers. And so what happens when you get a free radical in your body, and that's like chemicals and all the nasty stuff that's in air, water, and food, and when it gets into your body or comes through your skin, what it's going to do, because it's an electron stealer, it's at the literally at the quantum biology level of your cells. That molecule is going to come in and it's going to steal an electron from one of your healthy cells. And when it does that, it's going to disable that cell. And when that cell becomes disabled and you times that by millions and millions and millions, it's going to create inflammation, it's going to cause disease, it's going to create damage, and free radicals are really, really bad for you and one of the leading causes of aging. So antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, C60, hydrogen, these things come in and they are electron donors. And what happens in this diagram, as you can see on the right, is an antioxidant has an extra electron. It then goes ahead and gives it to the free radical. It pairs it up, neutralizes it, and boom, it neutralizes the free radical. And the damage, actually the threat of damage, is then extinguished, and then your body can then go ahead and start healing the damage that was caused by the free radical. Okay, that's really the number one thing. Everything else is secondary and beneficial. So the other thing is that it's what's really interesting about C60, if you do the reading, is it's a selective free radical scavenger, meaning it just doesn't go after every single one that it finds. It's very selective, and it seems to have this very unique property. And of course, you know, this science is only about less than 30 years that people have been studying C60, which isn't a whole lot of time, but it's able to selectively go after the toxic free radicals, because there's actually free radicals that are beneficial to you, but C60 specifically goes after the ones that are toxic and bad for you, which is an amazing property that scientists are still studying. It's also very, very small. A C60 molecule is 1 nanometer, and it's so tiny. It's 60 atoms that it's able to pass through the blood-brain barrier. So if it touches you, if it gets into your bloodstream, it's going to go everywhere in your body. There's nowhere that little tiny molecule cannot go. And then it's also indestructible. And what I mean by that, first of all, its molecular shape makes it really, really hard. And you got to remember now, diamonds are made out of carbon atoms as well. So I'm not saying that C60 is as hard as a diamond. What I'm saying is that it's made out of carbon atoms, and it's very indestructible from a strength standpoint, from its atomic bonds to other atoms, but more so as an antioxidant. What's real interesting about C60, if you, let's say, compare it to hydrogen. Hydrogen is H2, and that's like a gas. A lot of people that are taking C60 are also drinking hydrogen water, because hydrogen is also a super antioxidant. And the thing about hydrogen as an antioxidant is when it goes into your body, and it's basically in your body, and it's H2, and what it's going to go after is that free radical oxygen, that O1 atom that's in your body that's doing all that damage. It's going to go after that oxygen molecule. But the minute that the H2 molecule grabs on to the oxygen molecule, right, as this whole electron donation procedure is happening, it then automatically becomes H2O. And what's that? It's water. So then it just gets flushed right out of your system, but it's no longer hydrogen. It's hydrogen. It now becomes H2O, and it's water. So it gets destroyed as an antioxidant, and it gets flushed through you. when C60 goes in there and donates an electron, once it basically does its job, it's still there. It's still doing its job. It has other properties that it's going to continue to benefit your body, and so it's really a very unique property of C60. And the last thing about C60 is it's a caged fullerene. Now, this isn't really coming up in all of the research that I've seen in terms of like what it's doing for people, because what this property of C60 in terms of health is extremely unique, and there's really no other molecules that do this other than the caged fullerene molecules, is that it has the ability, because of its shape, to capture other atomic particles and then transfer and then carry that through your body, because it itself can cross the blood-brain barrier. If it grabs onto another molecule or grabs onto another atom, it could drag that puppy with it as it crosses that blood-brain barrier and go places where the drug itself or the actual molecule itself would not possibly go. So a lot of scientists are studying how they can use C60 as a carrier for other drugs in the body. And so here's an example of H2, which is a C60 molecule with a hydrogen atom inside, or H2 atom. 2 atoms of hydrogen comprises hydrogen gas. And then you've got H2O, so you've got a Waller molecule inside of a C60 molecule, and then this one is hydrogen fluoride inside of a C60 molecule. But these are all the different examples that I'm finding in the literature of how scientists are deciding, okay, how can we use this property of C60? So enough about how it works. This gives you the general idea. So let's jump in. Now, what are the health benefits of C60? So what I did was a lot of scouring the internet and trying to find the sources of basically what the benefits were, because remember now, okay, the interest in C60 really became acute in 2012 when there was a rat study from the University of Paris in 2012 published a rat study that really kind of took the industry, the health industry, by storm. The health industry meaning the people that are really into anti-aging and longevity. And so the first group of folks that went after C60 as a possible supplement were the biohackers, the people that are really into it, and a lot of them hang out on a forum called Long City. And so I went to Long City just to see what was some of the stuff that they were able to pull and determine as they started human trials themselves, using themselves as human beings to take the C60 as a supplement and see what happened to them. And they started literally in 2012. They started it, so they've been doing it for about 6 years. Now other people have started taking it and so forth, but there is no actual published human trial. The only scientific studies out there on C60 as a supplement are all done with small mammals, and the biggest thing is probably a dog. And so, but most of it's like rats and mice. And so there's been a lot of really good stuff that's come out of it, like it's not toxic and blah, 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 like I just described. But in terms of trying to determine what the actual health benefits are, it is 100% anecdotal. So be very clear that the information I'm about to provide is anecdotal. It is what people are saying. It's testimonial. It is not a science, double-blind, placebo-type based study. It is the, quote, I would say the unofficial, informal, human trial of C60 out in the public, and here you go. This is what people have been saying. So the very first thing is you go to the original group of guys that started taking it, and you can basically look this up yourself. Feel free. By the way, as you know, all my videos, everything you can link to is going to be in the video description, so all the links are in there if you want to go ahead and check this stuff out. It is interesting. So first things first is what are the health benefits that the biohackers found, and they found it was more energy. You take it and you get more energy, and anyone taking it knows that that's what it does. You need less sleep. It has a mental improvements. There's a level of clarity and just your mind is able to really function. Some people take it right before they gotta study, before they gotta take a test, when you go to work, whatever. But it really does improve your mental acuity. And then for the guys that work out and the athletes that were taking C60 and have been taking it, they're reporting that they can lift much heavier weights. Sometimes to the point where they can, it's like no pain, no gain, but too much. And then also they can do more reps and as they're working out. It also is tremendous in terms of just reduction in stress. Not only from oxidative stress from free radicals, but more so stress in daily driving through traffic kind of stress. And also A lot of people reported that they can run longer, the joggers, and with more effective utilization of oxygen, less fatigue, and that sort of thing. Additional comments at Long City were they could run faster, higher libido. That was definitely something reported by a lot of men, and also their faster recovery of damage from sunburns, which is an interesting aspect that was reported from the people. These are the guys now that have been taking it the longest of any one of us. Okay. Now, since these guys have been taking it, there's been a whole nother second wave of people that have been taking it and reporting results. And some of these reports have been compiled. And so if you go to, now Dave at C60 Labs done a really good job. He's taken these primary bullets and he's kind of listed them out, added some studies. So you can get a lot of good background information at his site, where he's basically gone into the fact of, C60 can improve longevity. It's a protection against the free radicals, as I mentioned. It prevents inflammation, and that is a byproduct of reducing the oxidative stress. And it kills bacteria and it kills viruses. Very important. It also protects your nerves. It prevents osteoarthritis, and it improves. I'm sure that osteoporosis is probably arthritis. Okay, I digress. And then it improves obesity and metabolic syndrome. So, some really great benefits. And now, if there's a couple more benefits that I found on a site called C60.com, and it gets into the UV damage. It actually can prevent damage from stroke and heart attack, which is real interesting. People are using it as an acne treatment, and people are using it for hair loss and reporting that they're actually getting improvements in growing their hair back. So, other possible benefits, and now this is where it gets interesting, this is what I'm reading from people I know on Twitter. So, courtesy of Twitter, this is what's been real interesting in terms of some of the health benefits due to what it can do, is that it protects against poison oak. So, Twitter friend basically reported that he fell into a patch of poison oak earlier in this summer. And he had a lifetime of being having severe allergic reactions when touching poison oak his whole life. He falls into it and nothing happens. He'd been taking C60 for 6 months, and when nothing happened, no rash, no reaction, nothing, it just really blew his mind, because it was funny because he'd been asking me for 6 months, I don't feel anything, nothing's happening, and I was trying to just coach him like, oh, try this, try that, But the idea was he didn't think it was doing anything. He didn't think it worked until he fell into poison oak. Now, I don't recommend you do that to figure out if it's working, but that's amazing. And so let's just kind of like figure out, well, why did that work? Well, obviously, what's poison oak? It's a natural chemical. What does C60 do? Well, it goes out and it just chomps up, chemicals, anything that's toxic to you, and it's basically protected him because it was in his body when he fell into that poison oak. Now I'm going to jump right to this one right here. That is the exact same thing that happened to me. I have I don't know, as I get older, the last, I'd say 20 years, I've developed a severe reaction to MSG. And for those of you who suffer from that, you understand completely what that means. MSG, monosodium glutamate, is an food additive, that's also a neurotoxin, severely bad for you. Every Chinese place, every Asian place dumps it in there like by the bucket load. Japanese food has it. And it also goes by a multitude of different names like natural flavors. And so I've had to really have a very restrictive diet because of my problem with MSG. And then I've been taking C60 since last October. I have to avoid certain restaurants, and these are all foods that I absolutely love. One of them is Korean food, and there's this one place, and they load up on MSG, and I had to give up eating there many, many years ago, and of course, that sucks. So for whatever reason, a month or so, or 2 months ago, I decided, what the hell, I'm going to just suck it up, and I know I'm going to have a reaction. It's going to take 3 or 4 days to, go through it. It's horrible. I don't like it, but I don't know. I just was kind of in one of those moods, and I decided, damn it, I want to get a plate of Korean food. And so I did. And I woke up the next day. Actually, it was that night, because it usually hits me like within 6 hours. And basically, I didn't notice that nothing happened. The next day, I realized, wow, wait a minute, nothing's happening. Day 2, nothing happened. Day 3, nothing happened. I'm like, oh my God. So then about a week later, I'm like, well, I'm gonna try this again because man, I really like, I love eating there. So I went back and I tried a different Chinese restaurant. I went to a Korean place. I went to a Chinese place. These places I had to give up eating there because it was so bad. And now I can eat it and nothing happens to me. It is just unreal. I am just blown away by what C60 does to this poison that comes into my body through the food. Now, of course, I don't recommend you guys go eat poison just to test this, but that's what happened to me. Also, this returns hair to youthful color. I'm going to show you a little screenshot of folks on Twitter talking about, and these are individual folks just volunteering that, hey, their hair is changing color back to their youthful color. Improves eyesight. I'm actually going through that right now. In the last 2 weeks, I changed formulas, changed my routine in terms of what I'm doing with C60, and this is the second time this has happened to me, but yeah, it improves your eyesight, and it kind of sucks in a way because I'm in between glasses, if you know what I mean. So right now I'm having a really hard time seeing with my glasses because my eyesight has improved beyond the ability for my glasses to help me, which really screws life up because I know better than to go and buy more glasses and then, that sort of thing. So I'm going to kind of wait till it levels out and make sure it's permanent before I go get a new set of glasses, if I have to at all. But I have a hard time now using glasses because I can see better. Improves libido. We covered that. So now the sustained energy throughout the day is another thing that comes up a lot. And then also too, one of the folks on Twitter gave it to their dog, and their dog had like a baseball-sized tumor and it shrunk it. Now they did report within 3 months later it came back, and so so it's it's just a matter of, okay, well it grew back, so are you going to give it more? And so I think they're working on it at this point to see what's going to happen next. But it definitely did something, and because of that, I actually have been giving it to my dog, which is a whole nother story. So what I'd like to do right now is share with you some testimonies that I got off of YouTube, because one of the things about trying to get trying to figure out what the health benefits are. Okay, well, we know what C60 does, and so let's go and find out, because of what it does, what are the benefits? And I just went through a bunch of pages of benefits from different websites that have compiled it. But here's what I'd like to share with you is I went and compiled it. I went to several interviews of C60 individuals, and I went through the comment section, and this is my logic, is that you can go to a website of somebody who sells something, and then there's testimonials there, like Amazon, and we all know that Amazon reviews are iffy. We all know that Yelp reviews are iffy, in terms of its accuracy and weight. So you take it with a grain of salt. Now, the way I look at YouTube comments is, yes, also too, people do go in there and pump stuff up. But what was interesting is that in these interviews, in these comments, no one's trying to sell anything during the interview. And so you look at the comments, and people are volunteering their stories. And I think that this is probably until something better comes along, I think this is probably a really good place to see what people are truly experiencing in terms of trying to compile, the anecdotal evidence of what C60 can do for you, and so forth. So YouTube comments where people, without being asked, voluntarily, with no motive and no bias, shared their stories. So let's go ahead. So I put them all on a document. There's a link in the video description. You can go ahead and read the whole thing yourself. I'm just going to go over the highlights. So here we go. Rita's aunt basically says, hey, I'm 76 years old. Her business was failing because she couldn't work as hard. I mean, at 76, God bless you. You're still working. But she started taking C60. Says no doctor knew what to do. About 5 weeks ago, I started taking carbon 60 in larger doses. Now I can walk without gimping around, and my back and side don't hurt as bad. My feet are getting better, and finally restless leg syndrome is improving. So that it's not keeping her up all night. Amazing. Here's Joe. He says C60 has less floaters in my eyes. I do notice a difference, especially in my legs. Now this is a different Joe. It changed my life. I work at a hardware store moving lumber and throwing 80-pound concrete bags, and I have been sore 3 times. I have been sore 3 times in the last 3 years. This stuff really works. It helps my overall performance. So if you're doing manual labor, it looks like it really helps you. Here's Gushara. I am 65 years old, work night shifts as a nurse, and most people can't keep up with me. feeling better every day. And you know what? When I'm 65, I hope that I have that same thing as Kushara. That's awesome. John Cook, I can support what they said regarding eyesight. I got a new script after 1 year of taking C60, and the eye doctor commented on the fact that my eyes were much better. Amazing. Francis Wellford says, not only do I feel great, but my gray hair is greatly reduced. You've got Big Nut Productions. My back pain went away almost right away too. Awesome. Here's Jay. I know for sure, day one, my energy improved. And then over here, you've got Liz Star Path 6, and she says, I think, feel more grounded, less pain in my body, not as fatigued in the afternoon. Awesome. And then goes on, oh, here it goes. Bandstand says, I feel so much mental clarity. I've had no stomach pain that I've had for 12 years. It's amazing. Think about that, for 12 years. And all of a sudden, boom, carbon 60, no more pain. Here's, I think this is Steamer Warren. I am 62, and the first day I noticed amazing results climbing 60 stairs, 2 at a time, all of a sudden, which I sure couldn't do last week. You've got Paul B1123, I know this guy, and he replied to me, my testimonial has me growing muscle mass like never before. So another young guy, works out a lot, growing muscle mass. He's pretty happy with that. Nathaniel Graham says, with 2 hair sample analysis tests conducted at baseline before C60 regime and then 6 months after daily dosages of 15 milliliters, the test results showed a 70% reduction in heavy metals. So, I mean, it just goes on, and it's amazing. This one I just found, and it's basically from a guy called Field Notes from the End of Time. This is an amazing. It says, I am in my late 40s and have done manual labor most of my life. I went from general pain and discomfort that was always going on in the background to none. My 11-year-old, 80-pound dog who needed to be lifted into the truck to go anywhere now can jump in on his own. I feel like both of us have been given a second chance. That is awesome. Earl reports, I find I only need 5 or 6 hours of sleep a day instead of 8 hours. My wife and I have been taking it for 9 months now. I work out a lot, and at 70 age of years, I found that if I pulled a muscle, it took forever to heal. Now it takes a day or 2, and I'm back at it. That's amazing. Here's Big Nut Productions. My hunger has fallen off significantly too. I was overweight and have now lost 25 pounds since starting C60 over 7 months ago. I just want to add on the side that I started taking C60 8 months ago, and without doing anything different, I've lost 2 inches off my waist. And I'm really happy with that, and it's given me a lot of encouragement to kind of just get more aggressively trying to lose weight. But I'm like mirroring so many of these things myself from my own personal reaction to C60. So, reading this stuff is really cool for me, and I'm happy to share it with you. So now here's Ray. Basically says, the spacing in my spine is gone. I felt a reduction in back muscle stiffness and increase in energy starting on day 5, which remains. Okay, now so here's the screenshot. Now what I did was on Twitter, I was tweeting about a video. There's about 3 to 4 people on YouTube that share their testimonies about C60. Probably more than that. I just don't see them all. But there's this one guy, I think his name is Synergy 7. He's like the cat lady guy. He's got this whole feral colony. He started out with just one. Been following this guy for a while, but he's really into cats. Anyway, so he did a video about his hair was turning darker, and he's like our age, right? He's a middle-aged guy, and so I shared that video with everybody on my feed, and right away Paul jumps in and says, my wife's hair color was also was restored too. Awesome, his wife's. And then Brian comes in and says, yes, my wife was just commenting on my greatly reduced gray. She thinks perhaps by half. Wow. And then Carmel Santiago says, my hair too. My 2 grandkids made the gracious unsolicited comments. Isn't that nice? So that's amazing. I mean, just think about the reality that it changes your hair color. But it doesn't happen to everybody. But just these are testimonies. So again, I'm going to say this again. No one asked these people what they thought. They just voluntarily said, hey, this is what's going on. So these are about as sincere as it gets. And this is real. These are real people, you and me and everybody around, you know. And this is the stuff they're going through by taking C60. So you want to know about what the health benefits are. That's the health benefits. Now, if you want to read, there's the top 3. I went through a bunch. The top 3 lists of other testimonials, more and more and more people chiming in, reporting in, and letting people know, hey, this is what it's doing for me. You can find that at Purple Power. Here's the link. Of course, this document right here is in the video description below, and then on the bottom you'll see the link to the Purple Power testimonials, the Carbon 60 testimonials, and the Champion 60 testimonials. In fact, Champion 60, which is Live Pet, the ones that for dogs, they have a YouTube channel, and they've got really good videos, about 6 or 8 videos of people who own dogs and what they've gone through by giving their dogs Live Pet C60 product. So it's amazing. I mean, it just is absolutely amazing how it's helping people. And so, I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, so now that we've kind of gone through the list of compiled specific health benefits, we've gone through how it works, we've gone through some testimonies, I really would like to let's just kind of do a summary real quick so we're all on the same page. So here's the things that you need to consider about how it can help you, all right? And the number one thing, the absolute most important thing is please, everyone, and anyone that you talk with about this or suggest it to, that it's for research purposes only. It is not approved by the FDA. There's been no human trials. Scientists have only gotten as far as rats and dogs, all right? I mean, and they're great results, but it's still experimental, so let's not get too ahead of ourselves. It's really a cool and awesome supplement that can do benefits that are amazing, but it's research, okay? So if you take it, you're researching, you are your own guinea pig. And so, there's a huge amount of responsibility that you have to take for this. And obviously, pregnant women should not be experimenting with anything that's not proven absolutely 100% for obvious reasons. And also children, outside or inside the womb. It's just these should be off limits to research, I believe. That's my personal opinion. Okay. And then the other thing, too, as you can imagine, because I do these videos, I interact with a lot of people about C60, and watch out for the detox effect. It could really punch you in the gut bad. And what I mean by that is the Herxheimer reaction. If you've never heard of that, it's basically if C60 gets in it and basically neutralizes a bunch of toxins in you, your body has to flush that out, and your body may not be strong enough to do that or capable, or you're overwhelming your body, which is mostly what happens with all those, basically, let's just crud, that's coming out of you. And so there's going to be a detox effect. So if you study up on Herxheimer, let me see if I can find a document. I'll throw that in the video description as well. Symptoms of the over detoxing too fast kind of thing, Herxheimer's, is you could have flu-like symptoms, you could get rashes, you could get headaches, so there's different things that could happen to you if you detox too fast. So if you're completely new to detoxing in general, if you haven't been taking a lot of supplements that are like vitamin E, vitamin C, glutathione, and all of these other types of detoxing antioxidants, then you need to go really, really slow and be very careful. And be very, very aware of your body. And if you start to have any effects, just throttle back as you decide to try C60. Okay, so watch out for that detox effect. It does catch a lot of people that I've talked to. And now age plays a role. Now, if you were listening to the testimonial piece, right, there's a lot of folks in there that are on the upper side of 50. And so, and this is something I covered in, I think, my third video, the one on dosing, is that, we all, it's bioaccumulation of stuff in our lifetimes, and certain people have a lot more stuff. I know an individual who's been a gunsmith, and man, that guy's had chemicals on his hands for 30 years, right? He is so toxic. It's, and he's trying to detox out, but he's like 100 times worse than anybody I know, because of his hands have been touching chemicals for so long. People who clean are it's just as bad. Anyone that works in any type of industry where you've got your hands or you're breathing or you're touching or anything, chemicals and things like that. So yeah, we all have a different levels of a toxic load. And so your age, the more older you are, probably the higher your toxic load. So, and because you have a higher toxic load, you're more likely going to feel something something immediately the minute that C60 enters your body and starts cleaning you up. So it's the older you are, it seems like the more pronounced the benefits are going to be. Also, be very careful with pre-existing conditions and general health. Now, something that did happen to me that I haven't talked about till right now is that I, for the last 3 years, or 4 years actually, I had a kidney stone each year for 3 years in a row, except this year, and so I'm discovered in my my older age that I am susceptible to kidney stones, and so because of that, when I was taking unfiltered C60, the extra carbon floating in it that wasn't filtered out put a stress on my kidneys, and it really gave me some trouble. So if you've got conditions such as kidney issues, especially if you got conditions such as liver issues and all that oil, I'm sure you can talk to your own doctor and then you say, hey, I want to take a teaspoon of oil every day. You don't even have to tell him there's C60, and he's going to look at you and go, yeah, you might not want to take that much oil. If you got liver issues, and so, be real careful about your health. If you're really super sickly, you've got lots of problems, again, extreme caution. Because it may or may not affect you negatively. And this goes too with the idea too of medicines. And this is a little chat that I had this week with someone about medicines and whether or not medicines and other supplements would be affected if you take C60. And the answer is, of course it would. Look at what C60 does, right? And so what is medicine? It's a chemical. What are vitamins? Well, vitamins are minerals, right? And so C60 will neutralize metals, as that one testimony you saw, a 70% reduction in heavy metal. So if you're taking iron, you're taking all these different metals, you got to remember, if you're taking C60, it's going to leach out, it's going to pull some of that out of you. So you might want to up your dose a little bit to compensate, but you got to play with it, But I'm just saying, be aware that C60 will affect medicines you're taking. It'll affect anything else you're taking, okay, because of what it does. So your pre-existing conditions and your general health play a vital role in what the health benefits are for you. Okay, now results vary greatly. As you saw from the testimonials and from all the bullet items, yeah, it's all over the map. And it really kind of goes back to that toxic load thing. Where are you most having a problem with, and that's where you're probably going to feel it. Like someone who grew up around lead their whole life, and where lead goes when it goes up into your freaking head, and so you might experience as that lead goes away, you might experience more stuff with your brain than someone who, let's say, took has been around another chemical that was like basically putting stress on their pancreas or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So the whole idea though, it's very the results vary greatly. The results are very sporadic. Okay, I've had over the last 8 months, my benefits go up and down the scale, backwards and forwards. I mean, like I'll have improved eyesight for 3 weeks, and then nothing happens, and then all of a sudden something new happens, and like my back won't hurt, and it's all over the map, and it's kind of weird. And a lot of people report that it's just all these different benefits are happening and coming and going, and so it is very sporadic. C60 just running around your body doing stuff. It's all positive, but it's like, it's sporadic, and it's very subtle. There's an interview on a YouTube channel for a lady named Gwen Foster. She interviews Chris Burres, who is one of the co-founders of SES Research, the providers of C60 powder for the 2012 rat study. And so that guy has been in the business longer than anyone in terms of C60 production. So Chris was interviewed by Gwen, and in that interview, it's really interesting where Gwen starts talking about how it's like some people don't feel anything, and they contact her, and I guess she's a nutritionalist or something, or health person, and then the way she looks at it, which I really thought was very very unique, and I think it was very helpful. The way she looked at how you could tell, is C60 doing anything? Because for the longest time, my first 6 weeks on C60, I started with Purple Power. I didn't feel nothing. I just felt itchy for a whole month, and that was that detox thing. Other than that, I didn't feel anything positive, and I thought the thing wasn't working at all, and it was all crap, right? But I kept going, and there you go. You know where I'm at now. So, but the whole idea though is it was subtle, and so just like with my friend with the poison oak. Okay, for 6 months, the guy thought it wasn't working, and he just kept at it because everybody else kept saying it's great, and so he just kept taking it, but nothing happened. And he was just about to, I think he just did stop taking it, because on that advice that I'm sharing with you with the Gwen Foster interview of Chris Burres, she talks about people who say nothing's happening. This stuff doesn't work, and what she says to them is really kind of unique. And she says, well, don't look at it as like, oh, you have more energy, but look at it like, okay, well, think back the last few weeks that you were on it compared to the time before that. Are you getting more stuff done? And in the interview, she goes, yeah, her friend goes, yeah, well, I cleaned out the closet first time in 10 years, and then another friend, I did this and that, and she goes, yeah, see, it's not so much, it's so subtle. You may not feel that you're getting more energy, but if you stop and think, you're getting more stuff done. And isn't that energy, right? And so that's just one perspective, but it is very subtle. And some people, they actually have to stop taking it for a while, look back at the period of time that they were before they realize, wow, when I'm on it, I actually get more stuff done, or I do more, I feel better, whatever. But you don't feel it until you stop taking it. That's people have done that as well. So it's subtle. The last two bullets here is the when and how to take C60. That's kind of, that's just up to different individuals. The general consensus are most people believe you should take it on an empty stomach. And I do, but I also take it with my morning protein shake. So you can do it either way. Whoops, that's not helpful. Okay. So when and how to take it. So that was distracting. Boy, I lost my train of thought. Oh wait, when. So take it with food, not take it with food. Practice, test, see what happens for you, and then also how to take it. Taking it like I do, I put it in a protein shake, or taking it sublingually under the tongue, that sort of thing. Mainly though, people take it in oil. That's another aspect of taking it. 99.9% of people take it in dissolved in oil. And so that's the whole aspect of how do you want to take it. And then the other thing too to consider is that too much oil is bad for your liver. Covered that. All right, so let's move on to the next topic, which is, where can you buy C60? Okay, so for those of you who've been following my videos, you know that I've been doing a pricing guide, and it all started with 8 months ago. I was shopping for C60, and I wanted to figure out, what sites carried it and for how much. And so I made this list, and then I just kept it up. And then I started doing videos, and so I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And it went from this little tiny short list to this thing that I've done now, which is, this is where you buy C60 for those of you who don't want to make it yourself, which is a whole nother subject. I got lots of videos on making it yourself, which, by the way, if you do make it yourself, it's a lot cheaper. Anyway, but let's talk about buying C60. So this is the updated pricing guide as of July 25th, 2018. So now it is as from the last pricing guide, the market is blowing up, literally, in the number of people that are making C60 oil and selling it on Amazon and eBay and coming up with their own websites. And hey, power to you all. That just makes it that much more available to everybody, which is awesome. And so what I've done though is I'm trying really not to keep adding. This list could get really long, so I'm just kind of sticking with this group of folks, these groups of providers of the C60 in olive oil. And just going to stick with this list right here, and that's kind of be what I'm going to do for a while now. But the whole idea here is now the pricing guide is for this is C60 in olive oil. By the way, link in the description below. You can grab a copy of this. And this is C60 in other oils, and then C60 specialty products, and then raw C60. I added a new section here, so that's all in one document. So here, let's pop back up to here. So now this is where you can go buy it. So these are all the different people that sell it, and then the way you read this guide is that right here, I take all of the different sizes of bottles and all of the different prices per vendor based on what bottle size, and it's all right in here, but I break it all down so that it's by ounce. You can compare apples to apples, okay? And then it's listed low to high. So, holding fast at the least expensive C60 in olive oil on the market is Good and Cheap. They sell on Amazon, and they're $5.40 an ounce. And then it goes all the way up to Axiom, which sells organic, and they really go with that whole everything super organic and non-GMO, and I mean, I love that kind of, that's my life right there. So it's really cool. He goes way into that healthy, aspect, and he's selling his C60 product, and it's $22.74 per ounce. And then you've got everybody in between. The purity here is just simply the purity level of the C60, the raw C60 in the product, and then this is the amount, the milligrams per milliliters of C60 in the oil. The standard is based off of that rat study I mentioned earlier. 0.8 milligrams per milliliter is the standard, and then there are vendors that have taken that number and really ratcheted up, because 0.8 milligrams per milliliter is not the quintessential end-all number. It is just what the rat study used. Okay, so people should be aware of that. So what's interesting from this standpoint is comes in lots of different bottle sizes, prices over here. But for you guys in the market, I've been keeping track of the average price per ounce since day one, and it's just amazing. And this is good for the consumer, not so good for the manufacturer. But bottom line, this is economics at play, right? Supply and demand. And so for the last 8 months, there's been a 40.5% decrease in C60 in olive oil. By the ounce. Okay, so that is huge win for the consumer, and it just shows that the more people that want something, the bigger the industry grows and the cheaper the end product comes, and that goes with everything. But it's kind of a cool number I like to share. And then for those of you guys who are selling this, you need to kind of keep an eye on this rate of descent and all your costs, and this is the business side of it too for you guys. But right now the average is 1060 for the top 10. So when you're out there shopping for C60 and olive oil, keep in mind that the average price is $10 an ounce, and that's basically in a price comparison to all the other different competitors out there. And that's an olive oil, and that's just purely C60 in olive oil. Then you get into this, and this is where it's really exploded. In addition to a whole bunch of extra people selling stuff in olive oil, so C60 in olive oil, there's been a lot of movement in different oils. And so I can see where, because of the price compression here and the margin squeeze on your products in terms of olive oil products, I can see where now the market is starting to see greater availability of C60 in other oils. Now, thing to keep in mind though, that in olive oil, I consider these guys, I call them the purists, right? And the purists are the guys who are trying to make a product that matches as close as possible to what the rat study did, because the rat study is like the holy grail of what's possible with C60. Okay, and so and that's great. And so if you're really a purist and you want to just go, hey, they did this exactly this way in the rat study and they got these results, well, I want to do that. That's your experiment, because remember, this is all research. Then you should definitely stick with the purists and stay in olive oil. But I want to make a point though, that none of these guys, I've looked at it, none of them are using Kimlali olive oil from Tunisia, which is what the specific type of olive oil they were using in the rat study. A lot of them are using the same C60 from SES, and they're using the same protocol of stirring it 2 weeks in the dark and blah, blah, blah. But no one is doing it exactly the same. But this is the closest that you're going to get. And if you really want to map to the rat study, stick to olive oil. But then there's a lot of guys that say, hey, C60 is C60. It doesn't matter what oil you've got. And then there's an argument that says, well, saturation rates, blah, blah, blah. But the idea, though, is that it does come in different oils, and people are reporting tremendous benefits taking C60 in different oils, okay? Especially like if you look at the Purple Power testimony site that I showed you the link to, and the C60. When I say C60, I mean carbon60.com, c-60.com. Bob Gress's product. Now you look at those testimonial pages, these are people that are reporting tremendous benefits, but one is in coconut MCT oil and one is in sunflower oil, right? And it's not even dissolved in sunflower oil. So there are benefits being reported in different oils. So if you're not a purist, then you can try something else and take C60 in a different oil. A whole nother reason why you need to take it in the oil. For those of you who are new, go take a look at my first 3 videos that explains the rat study, why it's in oil, and even if you're interested, how to make your own in part 3. Anyway, So C60 and other oils. Now I broke it out into coconut oil and avocado oil separately because there's so many people that are doing it now, and there's been new entrants into the coconut oil space and new entrants into the avocado space. These are the price per ounce now. Now a lot of the coconut oils are MCT oil, which is a different type of coconut oil. It's more refined and it kind of excludes a certain kind of acid and focuses more on a particular one. And so I'm not that into it, but that's what people like. Go for it. And so here's your best price per ounce. It is pricey in coconut oil, and so it's something to keep in mind. In avocado oil, you can get it as low as $9.61 an ounce in avocado oil, and then of course other oils. So other oils this is what's interesting. There was a big explosion. Now C60 Labs, David C60, he's the first guy to come out with like 6 different types of oils. I mean, really a wide variety, and gives everybody an opportunity to kind of just choose what they like in terms of taste, because some people may be allergic to avocados, or they may be allergic to olive oil, or it gives them, nobody likes that peppery taste, etc., right? And so he has all of these different brands, and so he's the first one that came out in hemp oil, and now you've got 3 other folks that decided, hey, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon, compete against Dave, and now they're selling theirs for a lot higher price in terms of just C60 in hemp oil. You've actually got, and then of course Dave is the only one that sells C60 in sunflower oil. It actually dissolved in sunflower oil. And then, of course, this new entrant, which is a product called C60 in pumpkin seed oil, just popped up on the radar. I thought that was interesting, and I read it, and I was like, wow, what the heck? I've never even heard of pumpkin seed oil. And then I researched pumpkin seed oil just by itself, and it's like, wow, that stuff's really super good for you. I never even thought about it, so, it's amazing what you learn as you kind of going through this stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's somebody now doing it in pumpkin seed oil. And a side note, on the experimental side, on the other side of the fence, people making it themselves at home, there has been tremendous success with people who are now making C60 oil using oil not from plants, but from critters. Castor oil is one example that I'm aware of. No, I'm sorry, not castor oil, cod liver oil. Do not take castor oil. Sorry, do not take that. Cod liver oil. And so a friend on Twitter also shared with me his experiments making it cod liver oil, and it just turned out beautifully purple. And he taken it, and he's getting benefits from it. And so it works with any kind of oil. And so whatever you're you like to take, then go ahead. And so that's all of the different prices, different bottle sizes, and best price per ounce for these different types of oils if you want to try those oils, okay? The last thing, too, is this third page, which is also where to buy, and is the specialty products. Now, I kind of dig the specialty. I'm a tinkerer. If you watch any of my other videos, where I'm making all sorts of different kinds of concoctions, C60 things, I like to tinker, and I really dig these guys. I think they're pretty cool because they're taking it up a notch, because you remember now, the 2012 rat study was not a study about the best C60 oil product that anyone could make and then get the rats to live forever. No, that was just like their default, what they came up with, just to deliver the C60 into the rat so that they would digest it. And then the study was to how much C60 could we give a rat before it dies. Okay, so it was a toxicity study. It wasn't a C60 in oil study. There has been C60 in oil studies, and I can share that with you in another video. That wasn't the study for that. And so what it means is like, hey, C60 benefits may or may not. You might get better benefits in different oils. You don't know, or doing different things. So being in olive oil, if you're a purist, it's that's what the study did. If you're not, you want to tinker and you want to see if you can up your game and do better, then you get into these specialty oils. Now, these are all very different. Now, the Champion 60, and then there's a Champion 60 extra strength, and then there's the Carbon 60 Plus and Carbon 60 Plus extra strength. These 4 come from the same place, and Carbon 60 Plus is licensing the Champion 60 brand. So it's all pretty much the same oil. And what it is, it's a proprietary blend of oils, and then there's actually additional enzymes added to the oil. So it's not It's not any particular type of oil. It's a combination of different oils and other supplements in the solution. And also, too, because of their different recipe, they're able to get the actual amount of C60 suspended in the oil up to 1.0 milligrams per milliliters. Okay, so like I was going back to saying, zero point 0.8 milligrams per milliliters is not the, it's not a number set in stone. So they were able to get it up to 1.0, and now they've just released a product with Champion 60 Extra Strength, where they are saying that it measures out at 1.2 milligrams per milliliter. So it's even more C60 dissolved in the oil. They came up with a different recipe so that it can hold more C60. So it's extra strength. You can take it and you're actually absorbing more C60 in less oil, which is like awesome. And so that's the new product that just came out with Live Pet. It's available at Champion 60X Champion 60 or Carbon 60 Plus has that blend special recipe with high strength. And one of the things about their blend, and because they're able to attain a higher level of C60, they're testing it out, and they're claiming, if you read their website, especially Live Pet's website, that the way that their blend is coming out, it's coming out at 270 times stronger than vitamin C as an antioxidant because of their blend. Okay. Now, if you read the rat study, they calculated that C60 was 172 times stronger of an antioxidant than vitamin C. That's sort of like a benchmark. Okay, so the rat study says 172. Live Pet says, hey, we've measured it at 270 because of our special blend. So that's really cool. So anyone who hasn't tried this, if you're interested in experimenting, this is one you might want to consider. Another one is the C60. Now, they're a monomolecular C60 suspended in sunflower oil. It's not dissolved. It's not a liposome. It's just floating in there. Very pricey because there's a lot of carbon 60 in a little bottle. There's only two products right now, these guys right here, that are actually blending carbon 60 with CBD oil. One is just carbon 60 with CBD oil, and you can see it's really pricey. Then the other one is which is Canada Carbon. And if you know, I've made 2 videos on CBD C60 oil, and I've been able to get the price down. My net price is like $47 or something like that. And so, you can make it, if you really want to do a combination CBD C60, then I would say make it at home. There's only like 2 products out there that you could buy it, but if you really wanted to try it, and of course you could take CBD oil separately from C60 oil, right? But if you're a tinkerer and you don't want to have as much oil, you can blend the 2 together and have one that's just like a power supplement. So I make C60 CBD oil all the time, and I take it daily. In many different combinations. So that's my thing with the CBD thing. So here's Canada Carbon and then Wild Leaf Hemp. They also do the CBD in infusion, and then they also add turmeric. And the only thing about it was the way it's described is I don't understand it, because when I said how much is in there, they basically said they do it a certain way with plasma tech, and they haven't invented a way to measure it. So just a note of just caution that I come from a world where if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. So but that's what they're claiming. And then of course there's this other website that also has that whole plasma bonded thing, and they're saying it's bonded with hydrogen, and they've got enzymes and stuff, and that's Yes Lab. So these are all very experimental, very out there products, but it's cool. I think it's really cool that you've got specialty C60 products out on the market now for people who really kind of want to just go beyond the rat study. And then this last section here I wanted to point out, which was the raw C60. A lot of people all the time are asking where to get it and what's the best deal. So here you go. This is where you can buy C60 powder or C60 liquefied, pulverized, and you can go ahead and make it yourself. And so I kind of just broke it. There's a lot of different sizes, but I just here's the 1 gram cost, and then the 5 gram cost, and the four basic purity levels, 99.5, 99.90, 99.95, which is the 99.95 is the main one that everybody uses from a commercial standpoint, and then 99.99 or 99.98, you do see that that just closest to perfection as you could get, and at that purity rate. And for those of you who are new to this, anything that's under 100, so the difference between, let's say, 99.95 means that 0.05 of what's in that carbon 60 is not carbon 60. It's either carbon 70 or amorphous carbon, a different type of carbon that's in there. They didn't get to pure C60. There's just a little tiny bit that's not C60, but it's C70 or something, and that's what purity means. And this is mostly this is solvent free. Some places, if they don't say it's solvent free, you should ask. And solvent free means that they made damn sure to burn off anything that touched that C60 to synthesize it, so that there's no toxins in the product that you're buying. So here are the different vendors now. There's 6 of them that are selling raw C60. For those of you who like to make it, you can get it as cheap as let's say I'm going to stick with 99.95 because I don't really recommend anyone make C60 under 9.95. And so you can get as low as $49 at MTR. MTR stands for Materials Technology Research, and they sell C60 for $49 a gram. And then there's Red Lion that sells it for $73 a gram. You have to buy 2 grams at a time to get that price because that's the smallest bottle they sell. Bucky Labs at $130, and then of course $155, and that's the price there. And then if you buy more, it's a little cheaper, and these are the prices at 5 grams. Most times it's cheaper, not always. Okay, and then there's Solaris, and Solaris is a Canadian company. So there are higher purities available, there are larger quantities available, and so forth. So keep in mind if you want to make it at home. Now the big thing about here is all of these are powdered C60 except Red Lion. Okay, Red Lion does something extremely different than anyone else, and what they've done is they've built their own technology to pulverize the C60 down to particulate sizes below 300 nanometers, which means extremely small. It's like so small it's like a silt. And I have a video that actually show the difference under the microscope. So it's a whole different type of C60. It's way more complicated to use that to make C60. So if you're not kind of science literate, you may want to just stick with the powders to make it. If you're more like someone who likes to kind of like seek perfection and really get into the science, then definitely by all means Red Lion's a superior product in terms of it being a pulverized one, because the finer the particle size, okay, the more bioavailable it's going to be for you. All right. So anyway, so that's my pricing guide. The link is in the video description. Feel free to grab a copy, and happy hunting. These are all really great vendors, and and there's so many choices now. That you've really got kind of whatever you want to do. I think you can find something that's going to match that. Okay, so now the last question we've got here is, now how much should you take? And I covered this in the dosage video, I think number 2, part 2 in the 3-part series. And so let me just go over with you again for those of you who didn't see that video, how much you should take. It all depends. Are you a purist or not? But that 2012 rat study, what they gave the rats, remember now, they were trying to kill the rats with C60. They gave them 1.7 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. Okay, now if you tried to take 1.7 milligrams of kilograms per body weight, and you're the average American male at 198 pounds, okay, that would roughly end up being like a full-on Coke can of olive oil every day for 7 days. And then every other day for 2 weeks, and etc. Right? I mean, I think that much oil would probably kill you. I mean, it just can't be good for you. I mean, it didn't kill the rats, guaranteed, but it did damage their livers. So so nobody takes that much. Okay, that would be like insane to drink that much oil based on what they try to do to those rats. So what everybody does is this. They apply just a simple logarithmic formula to it called allometric scaling, and they just reduce it down to 30% of what they gave the rats. And so now there's 2 websites out there that help you try to figure out what your dosage will be. Everybody else, because it's quote research only, they don't want to go there. And hey, you give these guys credit. They don't want to make anybody sick. They don't want to be responsible. They just sell it to you, and hey, it's up to you. You buy it with your knowledge of it being research, and you're on your own. Okay, but there are 2 websites that did. I know for a fact that Live Pet has done testing on animals to find out no animals were harmed. They all helped the animals, by the way, to find out what was the best way to dose. Okay, so Live Pet by far, and that's where this table comes from, is courtesy of Live Pet. And so they actually they figured out the best way to do it, and they followed the basic allometric scaling at 30%. They followed the load and maintain protocol that was done in the rat study. The rat study was load them up and then maintain at a lower dose over time. And so they follow that same thing. So if you look at this table right here, you will find that the dog, and let's consider like I'm a 200-pound dog or whatever, right? And so if your dog, quote, your dog is this weight, okay, 81 to 100, and then of course you could calculate from there, then you want to load up. Your starting dose will be higher than your maintenance dose. So this is how much you would be taking. So 3 teaspoons, now 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon, right? So if you're 100 pounds, or let's say you're the average American male, you're about 200 pounds, so that'd be 2 tablespoons, right? Six teaspoons, or 2 tablespoons, and then you would do that for 10 days. And then after that, you would just do half that. So you would do 1 tablespoon or 1.5 teaspoons at 100 pounds, right? You would do 1 tablespoon a day and then go forward, okay? And then, of course, they kind of cover how many days you could go at this rate, so you can know how many bottles to buy so you don't run out, okay? So that's right there. You can go to Live Pet, and you can actually take a look at the label on their bottles, and it explains it in more detail. But this is your basic formula on how much you should take if you're following the allometric scaling protocol and the load and maintain protocol of taking C60 for you. Okay, now the other thing is if you go to buckylabs.com, by the way, links of course in the video description, they have a thing called the Dosage Calculator. And so they don't go with the load and maintain, they just do the allometric scaling. So this is really cool. If you just want to just start taking the doses at the maintenance dose level, you don't want to load up first, which is fine. Totally up to you. That's just a different way of doing it. Most people, are whatever. You just make your own decision what to do. You can actually put your weight in there, how many doses a week, and then boom, it's going to tell you, how big your bottle size is, and then you submit. It'll tell you how much to take. Okay, so Dosage Calculator at buckylabs.com, or Allometric Dosage Guide at LivePet. I think it's LivePetLLC.com. Okay, and it'll help you to decide how much you want to take in your 200-pound rat study of your own. Okay. Now, lastly, before I leave, I just want to kind of share with you something that's new on the horizon on the C60 world. Is that if you have questions, and this is awesome because I always have questions, then the founder of C60 Purple Power has now started a every other week webinar, live webinar. Anyone could join. It's on Facebook, and you can go and just throw questions at Ken, and Ken just does a 1 hour with his marketing director, and they just sit there and answer questions that are put up. So you'd have to go on to Facebook. It's also live stream simultaneous on YouTube at their YouTube channel, but they won't take questions from YouTube. They'll only take questions from their Facebook page. So go to Facebook. It's second and fourth Wednesday. They just had one this 2 days ago. Today's Friday the 27th. And so I sat in there and asked a question. I think you'll even hear that I asked a question. And so if you have questions about anything, Ken Schwartz is the leading chemist that worked with the Live Longer Labs guys, Max Champy and Phil Catalano. He was their chemist on developing Live Longer Labs product, and then he broke off and then created a C60 Purple Power. So definitely, if you got questions, Ken's your guy. He's by far an incredible expert, and you can jump right on the Facebook second and fourth Wednesday every month, and you can go ahead and ask Ken and get your questions answered. All right. Well, that was a very long video. Thank you so much for sticking it out. I really wanted to just do something that was real basic that could help people understand, what they could get out of it and where they could get it, and of course how to take it. And I know that it was long, and I just really want to just say thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for watching my videos. Again, thanks for the comments, guys. If it wasn't for all that positive reinforcement, this would not be fun for me. So actually, I just want to say thank you. I really, really, really appreciate it. Appreciate you. Good luck with your C60 experiments. If you have your own story to share, please put that in the comments and let people know how you're doing. We all learn from each other. I started all of this so that we could share with each other and learn from each other and help each other. And that's kind of why I keep doing it. So thank you. Again, have a great day, and aloha.